For years, people called them soulmates, two spirits so perfectly in sync that even the universe seemed to step aside and let them dance. But behind those soft smiles, poetic lyrics, and matching tattoos, something dark was quietly brewing. Because just when everyone thought she had found her forever, Jhene Aiko did the unthinkable. She finally walked away from the man she once believed was her twin flame, Big Sean. And not because of betrayal in the ordinary sense, but because of something far more heartbreaking: he simply refused to marry her. Now here's where it gets chilling. Everyone saw it coming. Everyone, except Jhene. For nearly a decade, fans watched them move through love like water and fire, breaking up and finding each other again like destiny itself was pulling the strings. Their music wasn't just songs, it was confession, heartbreak disguised as harmony. They shared a child, memories, and an entire emotional universe. But there was one thing missing: a ring. And for Jhene, that missing piece started to feel like an entire missing life. Because no matter how peaceful she made his chaos, no matter how much loyalty she poured into him, Sean never gave her what she truly craved: certainty. He gave her lyrics, love, and vibes, but never a promise. And fans noticed it too. Social media lit up with comments like, "She deserves more than a vibe." Others said, "He loves her, but not enough to claim her." One viral post even read, "You cannot build a forever with someone still healing from their past." Every album they dropped together was like a coded diary, whispers of pain hidden behind melodies. When Jhene sang about being patient, fans now realized she was pleading. When Sean rapped about growth, maybe he was just talking himself into staying. And the most tragic part? Jhene gave him everything. Her peace, her loyalty, her time, even a child who carried their legacy. She was the calm in his storm, the grounding energy he did not even know he needed. But Sean? He confused comfort for love. He thought good energy was enough to replace commitment. And that is how fairy tales die quietly, not with betrayal, but with hesitation. Because love songs cannot fix what real love is too afraid to face. The truth was never in the headlines, it was always hiding in their lyrics, their interviews, their silence. And when you piece together the timeline, the ending feels less like a surprise and more like a tragedy written in slow motion. People close to the situation claim Jhene gave him more than one ultimatum. Not loud ones. Not dramatic ones. Quiet, heart-to-heart conversations late at night, the kind where your voice breaks even when you try to stay soft. And every single time, those conversations ended the exact same way, with Sean gently telling her he loved her, deeply even, but marriage simply was not on his list of priorities. He would wrap it in spiritual wisdom, the kind that sounds profound if you do not listen too closely. He would say things like, "Marriage should symbolize the best version of a relationship," and "I need to work on myself first." And sure, on the surface it sounded thoughtful. Mature, even. The kind of quote that gets turned into an aesthetic post on Instagram with sunset colors in the background. But fans were never fooled. They knew excuses when they heard them. These were not reasons, these were fears wearing the mask of enlightenment. 10 years. One child. Countless love songs. Endless declarations of soul-level connection, and he still claimed he was not ready. Meanwhile, Jhene was pouring patience into a cup that never filled. She was waiting for a promise that never arrived, watching her own hope shrink a little more each year. Every time she hinted at wanting a proposal, he escaped into spiritual talk. Something about trusting timing. Something about letting life unfold. But let us be honest, divine timing does not take an entire decade. What he really meant was simple: he wanted the devotion of a husband while keeping the freedom of a man who could walk away anytime he wanted. It was a setup that benefited him and drained her. For a while, she tried to stay calm, convincing herself that peace would somehow turn into commitment. But peace does not grow when two people are walking toward different futures. And after 10 years of emotional circles, Jhene finally saw the truth. She had been waiting for someone who was perfectly comfortable standing still. And then came the moment that changed everything, an interview that should have been harmless, but instead ripped the facade apart. In a 2023 conversation with Charlemagne, Sean finally addressed the marriage question. He called the topic personal, but then admitted there would need to be a lot of emotional work done before a proposal could even be considered. And just when fans thought he might redeem himself, he said something that froze the entire internet. He claimed marriage felt like a fear-based decision. That line hit fans like a breakup hidden in spiritual phrasing. It was not deep. It was not wise. It was deflection wrapped in poetry. The moment he said it, social media exploded. Tweets rolled in saying, "Fear? After 10 years and a baby?" Others wrote, "He is not afraid of marriage, he is afraid of losing his options." What Sean thought sounded thoughtful came across like a soft goodbye disguised as enlightenment. And the entire world heard it, even if Jhene chose to pretend she did not. Ever the quiet healer, she stayed silent. No retaliation. No cryptic posts. No interviews. Just stillness, the kind that hurts far more than screaming ever could. But that interview told the world what she never dared say out loud: he was not planning to marry her. Not now. Not ever. And deep down, she probably felt it, even if she did not want to believe it. A few months later, she dropped a snippet of a song called Break. Fans connected the dots instantly. She had been writing it since 2021. That meant she had been slowly letting go long before the public noticed a single crack. The music was not a coincidence, it was confession disguised as harmony. Her pain had turned into lyrics again, as it always did. And if anything was going to shift his heart, it should have been their son, Noah. When she gave birth in 2022, fans genuinely thought this was the turning point. The moment he would step up, protect his family, and finally seal their bond. Sean adored that child. He called Noah the best of both of us put together, and talked endlessly about legacy, heritage, spiritual growth, everything except vows. Ironically, he spoke more about legacy than he ever did about marriage. Jhene probably believed parenthood would transform them from partners with history into a real family. She hoped Noah would be the bridge to forever. But for Sean, the baby became proof that nothing needed to change. That they were already complete. Already bonded. Already whole, without paperwork, without pressure, without commitment. But vibes do not raise children. Commitment does. And slowly, painfully, Jhene began to understand that. And if you thought all of this was heartbreaking, wait until you look at his dating history. Because this is not the first time Big Sean sprinted away from a ring like it was on fire. Back in 2013, he proposed to Naya Rivera after only a few months. He fell fast, proposed fast, and cancelled fast. His team called it a difficult decision, but everyone knew that was PR language for cold feet. Then came Ariana Grande, a relationship that burned bright and vanished like a sparkler. After that, it was rumor after rumor, rebound after rebound, and those classic reflective quotes he loves to drop when he is doing the inner work. A pattern began to form, and fans saw it clearly: Big Sean is addicted to beginnings. He loves the chase, the chemistry, the early magic. But the moment something starts looking permanent, he quietly takes a step back. He is not anti-love, he is anti-forever. He is anti-forever, and that is the real tragedy. Because somewhere in her heart, Jhene truly believed she would be the exception. She looked at his spirituality, his sensitivity, his poetic heart, and convinced herself these were signs of emotional depth, not warnings of emotional distance. She believed she could heal the wounds he no longer planned to fix. But you cannot save someone who has already made peace with their chaos. The clues were carved right into his past: Naya, Ariana, and every almost forever before them. But Jhene ignored every pattern, believing love could rewrite fate. And this time, the story did not just end in heartbreak, it ended with a baby caught between lessons and legacy. And it cuts even deeper when you realize Jhene did not just love Sean. She worshipped him. She tattooed his face on her arm, twice. Covered it once, then brought it right back as if carving hope into her skin would make the future more real. She built her peace around him. Centered her affirmations on him. Created healing music inspired by him. On the surface, she seemed calm, enlightened, grounded. But beneath that serenity, she was trapped in a waiting game she did not understand she was losing. Her music preached peace, but her choices whispered attachment. She was not naive, she was invested. Deeply. Tragically. She held on to the version of Sean she believed would one day choose her. Hope was her oxygen, and she kept breathing it even when the room was on fire. But hope, when it overstays its welcome, becomes a habit that chains you. Jhene did not waste 10 years, she invested them in the wrong man, the wrong timeline, the wrong forever. Tattoos can fade, but the lessons? Those are permanent. And here's the twist no one talks about. Big Sean's fear was never the ring. It was losing himself. Losing control. Losing the fragile peace he built after years of feeling like the world was trying to take pieces of him. People say love is about surrender, letting someone see the parts of you keep hidden from the world. But Sean? Every time he surrendered in the past, he felt something valuable slip away. Trust. Identity. Stability. So even when Jhene loved him with a softness most people pray for, he could not fully step in. His heart was always in a negotiation with his past, wanting forever, yet fearing that forever would break him. The public never saw the quiet parts. The nights they stayed up until 3 a.m. talking about death, reincarnation, purpose. The meditations. The music that felt like a conversation with the universe. To fans, they were cosmic soulmates. But inside? They were two wounded souls trying to heal at the same time. And healing is not romantic, it is exhausting. Their chemistry was real, hauntingly real. They met at a moment when both were searching for something deeper than fame. Sean was tired of performing happiness. Jhene was tired of pretending peace meant silence. Together, they created something that looked like love, but felt like therapy. And therapy cannot save you when both people are bleeding. Jhene is an entire storm disguised as a whisper. She loves deeply, but she also loves with truth. She is the kind of woman who stares straight into your soul and asks, "What are you running from?" But Sean was not ready for that level of naked honesty. Because the truth is, he was not running from her, he was running from himself. From his childhood. From Detroit. From the industry that taught him to armor up but never taught him how to soften. And the irony is brutal. The same man who raps about loyalty and devotion could not bring himself to make it official. When marriage came up, he would laugh, or philosophize, or turn into a walking fortune cookie. He would quote spiritual elders, talk about alignment, freedom, evolution. Beautiful words. Intelligent words. But words can be shields. And his were crafted with the precision of a man who has practiced hiding fear under wisdom. To the world, it sounded profound. But beneath the surface, it was nothing more than self-protection in poetic form. And Jhene? Her patience had limits. Emotional labor has limits. Being the grounding force for a man who refuses to anchor has limits. She did not need a lavish wedding. She did not need a 1,000-guest ceremony. She needed certainty. Something that told her, "You are chosen. You are safe." But Sean's love was always a balancing act, hovering between devotion and detachment. He wanted her near, but not too near. Loved her, but carefully. It was the kind of love that makes you feel like a priority one day and an option the next. The kind that intoxicates you but never steadies you. Fans called it destiny. But to them? It was just two humans trying, and failing, to outgrow their wounds. When they dropped 2088, everyone thought it was art imitating love. Two creative souls merging into something timeless. And it was. But the real story was written between the tracks, in the arguments, the silences, the unspoken distance. Every melody carried a truth they refused to say out loud. Sometimes even soulmates cannot stay. It is almost poetic how the world labeled them twin flames, because in a way, they truly were. But people forget what twin flames actually mean. They are not fairy tale endings wrapped in slow-motion kisses and wedding bells. They are awakenings, violent, spiritual, beautiful, destructive awakenings. A twin flame does not complete you. They expose you. They peel back every emotional layer you have ever used to protect yourself. They reveal wounds you thought had healed, fears you disguised as strength, insecurities you covered with confidence. And that is exactly what Jhene did for Sean. She forced him to confront himself. That is its own form of love, the painful kind, the kind that does not always end with a ring, but always leaves a mark you feel for the rest of your life. People forget that at their core, both of them were artists. And artists are addicted to emotion, joy, grief, confusion, heartbreak. It all turns into sound. Pain becomes poetry. Doubt becomes melody. And every unresolved feeling becomes another lyric the world mistakes for art, not confession. So even as rumors of their split flooded social media, even as fans mourned the end of 2088 like it was the final chapter of a novel, both of them were still writing. Still transforming heartbreak into harmony. Still learning how to love themselves outside of the gravity they once created together. For Sean, that journey was brutal. He spent years preaching inner peace, but real peace is not soft-lit candles and meditation playlists. Real peace is lonely. It is staring at yourself in the mirror and realizing you have become a man who talks about love far more than he practices it. He used to claim marriage was fear-based, that most people tied the knot because they were insecure. But maybe the truth was simpler. Maybe he feared what marriage would demand of him. Commitment. Surrender. Responsibility. Accountability. Marriage is not just love, it is consistency. It is staying when you are uncomfortable. It is showing up when your ego tells you to run. And for someone who has built an entire identity around control, that kind of surrender feels like drowning. Jhene, on the other hand, learned surrender long before Sean ever entered her world. She had already survived grief, motherhood, chaos, and heartbreak. She loved from scar tissue, not open wounds. That is why she seemed calm even when their relationship quietly unraveled. She had already learned that sometimes the most peaceful thing you can do is walk away. Outsiders love to say she wasted her time, but the truth is far from that. She was the honest one. She gave what she had. She tried. She showed up. And when love stopped meeting her halfway, she did not scream or break, she simply accepted the truth before the world even noticed. And yet, no one can deny that what they shared was real. The chemistry, the cosmic pull, the spiritual alignment, none of it was staged. But love built on healing can be dangerous. Once the healing is done, sometimes the bond that held you together dissolves too. What remains is gratitude, nostalgia, and the soft ache of what could have been. Fans still dissect every lyric, every Instagram caption, every interview, searching for clues of a comeback. Maybe they will collaborate again. Maybe they will reconnect. Maybe they will circle back like they always did. But maybe the beauty of their story is that they do not need to. Maybe the love they shared already fulfilled its purpose, it shaped them. Not every great love story ends with marriage. Some end with evolution. Still, the tragedy is undeniable. They made love look cinematic, only for reality to cut the film before the final scene. The world wanted a happily ever after. But real life is not an R&B album. It is messy. It is non-linear. It is full of lessons disguised as heartbreak. And whether Sean admits it publicly or not, you can hear it in every interview. In every pause. In every time he hesitates before answering a question about marriage. A part of him still aches. Not for the wedding that never happened, but for the peace he could not protect while he had it. Because in the end, Sean's story was never about commitment. It was about identity. The fear of losing himself inside love. And Jhene's story was never about wasted time. It was about choosing herself after giving too much. Together, they created magic. Apart, they became who they were meant to be. It is bittersweet, painful, and deeply human. That is why their story lingers, because everyone sees a piece of themselves inside the mess. And here is the final twist: accountability. Sean wanted forever in theory, he just did not want it in writing. That kind of love, the kind that sounds beautiful but never becomes solid, slowly wears a person down. Not with explosions, but with erosion. Jhene did not leave in fury. Her heart did not shatter into chaos. It dimmed. Quietly. Peacefully. Like the soft flicker of a candle that has burned longer than it should have. Sources close to her say the breakup happened in silence. No drama. No public shade. No cryptic tweets. No messy interviews. Just acceptance. Two people who once loved each other deeply, choosing a gentler goodbye. They agreed to co-parent Noah with love, not resentment. And sometimes that kind of love, love without pressure or expectation, is the softest landing two souls can offer each other. Right before they split, Sean praised her publicly, calling her an incredible woman and an extraordinary mother. It was not for show. It was a final thank you disguised as a compliment. His way of telling the world she was never the problem. She was always more than enough. She carried them emotionally, spiritually, even artistically. Their vibe, their art, their universe, it often grew from her heart, not his. But admiration is not commitment. Compliments do not build a future. Love needs more than poetic language, it needs consistency. And consistency was the one thing he could never give her long enough for it to matter. Meanwhile, Jhene spoke in a language only the emotionally fluent could understand: captions. The quiet kind. The kind that looks soft on the surface but carry storms underneath. Little messages about peace, growth, healing, release, almost like love notes written to the version of herself she was trying to return to. She never dragged him. Never shaded him. Never subbed him. She did not need to. Because silence has a way of speaking louder than heartbreak ever could. Silence is not weakness. Silence is clarity. Silence is the moment a woman realizes that explaining and pleading and waiting and proving have all turned into dust. Silence is when her heart stops negotiating for what it deserves and simply whispers, "It is time." And for Jhene, that whisper became a truth she could no longer ignore. Their love did not rot. It did not explode. It did not turn venomous.